1 inch my past life, I was killed by the housekeeper's daughter, and everyone was reborn. But I'm different. I not only got a second chance, I can change the script. The day after the college entrance exams, the housekeeper's daughter, who'd been with our family for nearly 20 years, kneeled in front of my parents and claimed she was their biological daughter. My parents exchanged looks, pretending to be surprised. But I knew they were fully aware, because I have the script for this whole novel. Not only that, everyone has been reborn. Isn't that awesome? If you looked closely at my parents' expressions, they didn't seem shocked. There was a hint of coldness. Because who's Hazel? The same Hazel who killed me in my previous life. Hazel put on a dramatic show, crying her heart out, looking pitiful. My parents lifted her up, trying to comfort her. "Don't cry, let's talk this out. How can you be sure about this?" Hazel, through her tears, said, "A simple paternity test with mom and dad would suffice." Wow, she's calling them mom and dad even before the test's done. My dad looked confused and troubled. The script said he felt too guilty towards me to know if he should agree to Hazel's request. I chuckled silently, like of course he should agree, otherwise I wouldn't be able to have any fun. "Dad, just do it. Maybe I really am not your daughter." I put on my saddest and most pitiful face. Mom's heart ached and she hugged me tight. "No matter what, even if you're not our biological child, you will always be a part of the David family. We will always love you. Dad, you have to believe me. If I'm lying, may I be punished severely." Hazel cried even harder. Dad lit a cigarette, smoking for quite a while. "All right, we'll go this afternoon." The script stated that Dad thought a paternity test would help him manage Hazel better, educate her to not repeat past mistakes. I almost laughed at the irony. Blood ties seemed to make a difference. Even though a life was lost, they still hoped Hazel might change. Dark thoughts crept into my mind, and I picked up my editing pen to make my first adjustment in this life. Script. The hospital announced that Hazel is indeed Dad's biological daughter. Hazel hugged Dad and Mom and cried loudly. I initially wanted to erase the words biological daughter, but it couldn't be done. The script warned me. The main storyline can't be altered. Well, if that's the case, let's shake things up a bit. I erased the words cried loudly and changed them to laughed loudly. Satisfied, I closed the script, quietly waiting for the next day. The next day we were summoned to the hospital for the results. The whole family, including the housekeeper, sat in silence, knowing the outcome. The doctor brought a stack of papers confirming Hazel was indeed my parents' biological daughter. Hazel's eyes welled up, and then she started laughing hysterically. Her laughter was so loud it startled the doctor into pressing the emergency button. Mom and Dad were taken aback, pushing away the laughing Hazel. Hazel, between her fits of laughter, said, "I really am your child, haha. But this is so sad." Even Hazel probably didn't understand why she was so giddy, rolling on the floor with joy. The security couldn't even get a hold of her. Finally, on the doctor's recommendation, Hazel went to the psych ward. Mom and Dad looked at Hazel in shock, unsure why things turned out this way. Could Hazel really be laughing herself silly? So maybe she doesn't need to be recognized. I chuckled to myself, can't handle it already? This just the beginning. Hazel underwent a full neurological test and was only released when confirmed to be okay. Evidence was inarguable. Hazel was my parents' child, and I was the housekeeper's kid. Ever since that confirmation, Hazel started looking down on me. The script described her inner thoughts. "Even in a new life, you're still beneath me." I found it amusing. Did she really think the universe would let someone who did so much evil in their past life be reborn for no reason? But I believe she'd figure it out soon enough, because she realized our parents didn't cry over her like in the last life. Instead, they cared for me, the confirmed non-biological daughter. Mom said, "Layla will always be my child. The David family isn't heartless. I'm willing to take Layla as my goddaughter if she wants. There's nothing like a good mom, right?" Dad seemed conflicted, but if word gets out, it could negatively impact both kids. "I think Layla should return to the housekeeper's family, and Hazel can come back. But don't worry, Layla. All your future expenses will be covered by us." I scoffed internally. Is that really for my sake? More like for your own image. He was a hypocritical, cold-hearted businessman in my past life, always prioritizing profit. The saying businessmen prioritize profit over emotions couldn't be more accurate. So Dad acting like that was expected, but Hazel, no, now it's Hazel trying to get involved too. Hazel looked worried and concerned. Yeah, Mom, I'm not bothered. My main concern is for Dad. Dad had a look of you, get me, Hazel? I seized the moment, flipped open the script, looking for something to change. Script. Dad patted Hazel's head, saying, Hazel, you're such a good girl. This nauseating father-daughter bond. I didn't hesitate, picking up my editing pen, made some bold changes. 2. I'm really proud of my creative talents. Suddenly, I saw Dad raise his hand and smack Hazel hard on the head. What the hell? In an instant, the whole living room went silent, and I struggled to hold back my laughter. Hazel was stunned. What was going on? Wasn't it weird that Dad's eyes seemed appreciative before he slapped me? Hazel, being the drama queen she is, chose the most straightforward yet effective method for dealing with this situation. She kneeled in front of Dad, slapping her own face repeatedly. Dad is right, Dad hits hard. It's Hazel who's stupid and said the wrong thing. Dad didn't even know why he did it, but even though it surprised him, under the guise of being the head of David Corporation, he stayed calm and went with the flow. Don't say things like that again. I don't need you to worry about me. Hazel gritted her teeth, compromised. Got it, Dad. Afterward, we spent almost an hour negotiating, then decided to separate, each going to their own home. We quietly returned to our own identities. Hazel smugly held Mom's hand as she walked past me. I turned to look at my silent father. He had been the kindest person in the past life, working tirelessly for the David family for over 20 years. After learning the truth about me and Hazel, he didn't distance himself or treat me coldly. Instead, he tried to fill the nearly 20 years of missing father-daughter relationship. He treated Hazel like one of his own with unwavering kindness. He was genuinely heartbroken about my death. Thinking of this, I felt a lump in my throat. I held his hand and naturally said, Dad, let's go home. With joy and a sense of relief on his face, he replied, Yes, let's go home. He held my hand firmly as we walked out of the David family's front door, closing the chapter of the past. I never quite understood why Hazel waited until after the college entrance exams to reveal the truth. She could have done it before the exams, caused me emotional turmoil, and messed up my performance. After all, she did just that in the last life, but today I figured it out. There were 2 grand balls planned for the 3rd day after revealing the truth, and the guest list included some of the most influential people in society. Hazel wanted to enter as the David family's biological daughter, then play Cinderella and find some wealthy target. She had this obsession. Everything I liked she had to take. But I wasn't scared of her petty tricks. It was just a matter of whether she could handle the attention. Some admirers might be good or bad, it depended on how she managed. The ball was on Sunday evening. In the past, I didn't get a ticket because of my stupidity, but this time, thanks to Mom's promise, anything Hazel got, I would also receive. So naturally, I also had a ticket to the ball. The quickest way to leave a lasting impression is to stand out. So the daughters of noble families usually opted for glamorous gowns or dresses, paired with extravagant jewelry. But too much of the same gets boring. This is when you go the opposite direction. You don't want to be too glamorous, but you also don't want to look too plain. This was just the first ball, and my goal was to attract some playboys and then gracefully retreat. I wore a youthful pink evening dress with minimal jewelry and styled my hair in a cute princess look. I looked as fresh as a peach. After entering the venue, I didn't rush to mingle. Instead, I quietly hid in a corner, eating cake. Just as I was enjoying my second macaron, a handsome man approached. Wearing a red suit with the top 3 buttons rebelliously undone, holding a glass of red wine, he looked me up and down and casually said, "Enjoying the food?" I nodded innocently and kept munching on my macaron. The slick-haired man took a step closer. "You look different." Typical player talk. I smiled slightly but said nothing because from the corner of my eye, I noticed another red figure approaching. It was Hazel, dragging around a 3-meter-long dress train. I had no idea which stylist the David family hired for her, but even though she's the same age as me, that tacky dress and heavy makeup made her look 10 years older. "You're here too, sis?" Hazel said, then quickly turned to the slick-haired man. "And you are?" The man smirked and pulled out 2 business cards from his chest, handing them to us. "I'm Amir." Touched by the warmth of the card, I felt a wave of disgust. Unbelievable. I've never seen anyone keep their business cards in their chest pocket. I didn't even know how he managed it. But what grossed me out more was the string of numbers on the back of the card. It was a room number. This guy was here to pick up women. My expression towards him turned icy. I didn't bother hiding it. He should be able to tell. Hazel was thrilled, though. "You're the son of Mr. Verman. What an honor, Verman. That's impressive. He's always in the top 30 on Forbes." I understood the joy Hazel felt catching a wealthy husband. But putting the card in her chest? Come on. This move practically screamed she was accepting the slick-haired guy's invite. He noticed this too, his eyes turning lecherous. "And who might you be, miss?" Hazel quickly grabbed his hand, introducing herself. "I'm Hazel, Mr. David's daughter. The girl beside me is our family's housekeeper's daughter. She just tagged along." Hearing this, the guy's eyes showed a bit of surprise. After all, judging by my every move, I'm more like a pampered princess. But seeing that my expression didn't change, they believed Hazel's story. They probably saw the coldness in my eyes, so they weren't keen on getting too close. Besides, there was someone else willing to cozy up to them. And there I was, the most awkward one among the three of us. I flipped through the upcoming script. Hazel and the slick-haired guy had a fling that night, sealing their status as a couple. That was fast. There wasn't much to change in the script. Changing it might actually stall the plot. That was the effect I wanted. Watching Hazel and the slick guy get closer, I quietly slipped out of the dessert area and left the party early. I thought I was being discreet. Little did I know there was a pair of eyes in the shadows watching the whole scene unfold. Things went exactly as the script planned. The next day when I saw Hazel, she looked radiant, with a hint of arrogance and flirtatiousness on her face. Her gaze towards me was even more disdainful. I really couldn't understand why she fell for the slick-haired guy's charm so quickly. After all, she's seen it all and lived 2 lifetimes. But Hazel can be head over heels for love, day and night, impossible to guard against. In her past life, she deliberately harmed me because the senior she liked for 3 years confessed to me. Why didn't I catch on to her weakness sooner in my past life? The thought deepened my resentment. If she could do it, she shouldn't blame me for being ruthless. The second party came quickly. Tonight I wore a sleek black dress, my makeup sharp and alluring, exuding a noble and commanding vibe. After dealing with personal grievances the previous evening, tonight was about solidifying my position. From the moment I stepped into the ballroom, I was swarmed by people making small talk, both men and women. All the social skills I learned in my past life paid off. I could even hold a conversation about a glass. I'm confident everyone I spoke to was impressed by my aura. During a break, I accidentally saw Hazel and the slick-haired guy walking hand in hand. But who knows if she noticed where his hand had just been on another woman's waist. Maybe my gaze was too direct and sharp because Hazel looked over and saw me. After a brief exchange with the slick-haired guy beside her, she approached me with a glass of red wine. "Layla, seriously? It's already the second day and no one's asked you to dance yet. Don't worry about me. Just keep a tight hold on that kite string in your hand." I smiled elegantly, taking a sip of my wine. "Layla, admit it, you're just jealous of me. After all, my guy met you first last night. But you can't blame me for you missing your chance." Hazel twisted her neck smugly. I scanned her up and down like she was trash, lacing my gaze with a cool sneer. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. Just one breath was enough to fuel Hazel's anger, causing the wine in her hand to dangerously tilt my way. I immediately flipped open the script, eager to make this scene entertaining. Script. Hazel raises the wine and throws it on Layla's dress. Thankfully, Layla dodges skillfully. Turns out the script was in my favor all along. Initially, I wanted to switch Layla with Hazel, but that seemed too boring. If I was going to change it, I should make it dramatic enough to embarrass her. So without a second thought, I switched wine for slick-haired guy. No clue if Hazel could lift the guy, but I was pretty confident in my cheat sheet. With the script modified, I watched Hazel calmly. Her hand, still midair, suddenly dropped, the wine glass slipping and shattering on the floor. It drew everyone's attention. Then, under everyone's watchful eyes, Hazel lifted the 160-pound slick-haired guy and slowly raised his bewildered self over her head. She tossed him in my direction. Thanks to the clever script design, I dodged easily. But as I moved aside, I heard a loud thud, like a sack of cement crashing down. The slick-haired guy landed flat on his back. The entire ballroom turned silent, first in disbelief at the guy on the floor, then in disbelief at Hazel. "Call a doctor!" A piercing yell broke the awkward quiet. It was from the guy on the floor, his face twisted in pain, his body convulsing. "You damn woman, I'll make you pay." The slick-haired guy yelled at Hazel, his eyes bloodshot. Hazel's legs gave way and she collapsed, unable to utter a sound as she covered her mouth. She must have been unable to explain her every action, gazing at the guy as if she'd seen a ghost, trembling non-stop. The arrival of the ambulance completely disrupted the party. In the end, the slick-haired guy left with the medics, and Hazel left with the cops. The party returned to its usual vibe. But instead of business talks, everyone was buzzing about David's only daughter, a princess capable of lifting a 160-pound man. I savored the wine leisurely, imagining the uproar in the David family tonight, and I couldn't help but laugh. "You seem pretty pleased." A deep voice sounded in my ear. Startled, I turned to see for a really mature and handsome guy. He can charm anyone from a 3-year-old girl to a 50-year-old woman. "Who are you?" I took 2 discreet steps away from him. "Are you Uncle's daughter?" He casually sat on the sofa next to me, undoing the top button of his suit. I watched him warily, not saying a word. He stared at me for about 3 seconds, then smirked. "No need to be so tense. I'm Aiden." Those eyes were deep and unfathomable. "His name is Aiden. A name that needs no embellishment because everyone knows it and fears it. Aiden is an untouchable force in business. It's not an exaggeration to say he owns an empire." Then he spoke again. "Let's make a deal, miss." He needed me to take care of his biggest threat, the Vermin family. That's the family with the greasy-haired guy. At first I played dumb, trying to act like I was too insignificant to be of help. But Aiden seemed determined. "Miss Layla, you're smart. You might not know this, but I've been watching you since last night." I was stunned. I thought I had covered my tracks perfectly. He looked at me for a moment, then continued leisurely. "Last night, you managed to throw someone you disliked under the bus and walk away without a scratch. They had no clue. And today, even though I don't know what little tricks you pulled, I'm sure today's mess was linked to you." I couldn't deny it. I looked at him a bit more seriously. "Make a deal with me. Use those mysterious skills of yours to take down the vermins for me, and I'll squash the David family like it's nothing." He wasn't asking. He was dragging me into his plan. "The David family doesn't have any grievances with you, right?" "True, they don't. Whether they disappear or not doesn't matter to me. But since it's what you want, I can make it happen. I made one last futile attempt. You might be overestimating me. I really don't have the skill to be of great use. Besides, no matter how annoyed I am with the Davids, it's a family matter. I'll handle it myself." He stood up slowly, buttoned the top of his suit, and chuckled softly, as if he was a bit tired. "But it's not up to you, is it? Miss Layla, you're smart. I expect to see you on the 28th floor of the Hwaseong Cultural Center on Monday morning. Don't let me down." I stayed in place, unable to snap out of it for a long time. That intimidating man was no longer on the dance floor. Instinct told me I was in deep trouble. In the following 3 days, Hazel's affair spread like wildfire. Everyone was both amazed at Hazel's strength and a bit disdainful. Then there were rumors that the David family picked up the wrong daughter, suggesting they had mistakenly raised someone else's daughter for years. Just when they finally had a well-bred daughter, it turned out she wasn't even theirs. I was initially delighted to hear about things that would drive my dad crazy. But slowly my dad also started getting bad press. It was hard not to suspect Aiden was hinting at the consequences if I didn't help him. Besides fear, I was a bit angry. This life, all I wanted was to settle old scores and then live well. I didn't want to get involved in any high-stakes schemes. But at this point it really wasn't up to me. Monday morning at 8, I arrived on the 28th floor of Hwaseong as planned. It seemed in line with Aiden's expectations. As soon as I entered his office, he got straight to the point. "Tell me your plan." I took out a folder from my bag and handed it to him, then gave him a pen and walked him through my entire plan. Aiden seemed very pleased. He was optimistic about me and said if the mission succeeded, he'd reserve a spot for me among the company's top executives. I couldn't fathom why he trusted me so much. The thing is, I'd never even met this guy in my past life. I couldn't dwell on it. While the greasy-haired guy was still recovering, I needed to strike. Hazel was bailed out by our parents last night. Dad thought she had a relapse and shut her in tight. I had to pour some fuel on the fire. I first bought the cheapest chicken soup I could find on the street, then casually got a thermos. After a simple setup, I headed to the hospital. Greasy Hair was lying in bed whining for a nurse. The nurse can't come, so will I do? In a pair of sky-high heels, I ignored all obstacles and ran into Greasy Hair's ward. He was shocked to see me, his eyes nearly popping out. The honey trap had to be all about showing some charm. After about a week of deprivation, I doubted he could resist black stockings, a red dress, and big waves. I quickly reassured him, opened up the soup I worked so hard to get, and prepared to feed him. He looked at the crystal-clear soup, refusing to open his mouth. Well, a rich kid like him would have some brains. I took a sip myself before offering it to him. He looked me up and down, then grinned and drank the spoonful of soup. Wondering why Miss Layla's here? Coming to plead for someone in the David family? Her? Not a chance. I'm here for a deal. I smiled mysteriously. Oh, do tell. You were seriously injured because of Hazel. Don't you think that's strange? Your dad's health is failing fast. The air spot is within reach, so why were you injured at this critical moment? I hinted while feeding him more soup. He looked epiphanous, though still seemingly clueless. I stoked the flames, pressing on. Someone's jealous of your spot and wants you gone. You mean she was trying to harm me on purpose? 5UV probably heard the rumors by now, right? Hazel was never raised in a wealthy family. There's no way she could think up such a nasty scheme. There's got to be someone else behind it. The greasy-haired guy brainstormed for a bit and finally gave me the answer I wanted. David? You're quick, aren't you? After a moment of looking stunned, the greasy guy then smirked maliciously. But why should I trust you? I've been waiting for that question. I've been living it up in David's family for over a decade, and then suddenly Hazel shows up crying for her real parents. Do you think I can swallow that? I watched his expression and continued. David's family is cold and heartless. Once they acknowledged Hazel, they ignored me. And now Hazel snagged a big fish like you. All of that was mine and I'm taking it back. And you're smart and capable. You're the best partner I could have. Seeing the greasy-haired guy soften a little, I went in for the kill. If this goes through today, who do you think is more worthwhile, me or Hazel? I batted my eyes at him. The greasy guy picked up on it right away and nervously reached his right hand to my thigh. I immediately stopped his hand, fighting off my distaste. I don't do deals without sincerity. As long as you cooperate, Vermin Group and all its spoils will be yours. Think I'd run out on that? He thought for a moment and spoke. What do you want me to do? Don't worry. You'll get all the details in an email tonight. Keep an eye out. I glanced subtly at the paparazzi across the way, leaned in and whispered in his ear. Looking forward to your good news, future Vermin CEO. He was flattered by the title and cheerfully agreed. With my goal reached, I left the hospital without a backward glance, turning off my phone's recording device. If Aiden isn't on his knees calling me dad after this, I'd be shocked. With the greasy guy dealt with, my next target is the David family. I'm in no rush there, though. I want to let things brew until Hazel walks right into my trap. 2 days later, no call from Hazel, but Aiden's call came first. You sure went all out. I underestimated you. I leaned back on the couch. What? The media's making moves. After a pause, photos of you and Amir in the hospital room have been posted by most media outlets. Probably trending by tonight. That's good, efficient work. I was unfazed. Some accounts are stirring the pot. Need me to get rid of them? Nope, let them stir. The more fuss they make, the angrier Hazel will get. After a while, a soft murmur came through the phone. You really have changed. That sounded off. I quickly got suspicious. What do you mean, Aiden? Do you know something? I'll explain everything when you're done. That was the last thing Aiden said before he hung up. I angrily tossed my phone aside. Suspicious. Very suspicious. Everyone who's come back is connected to my death somehow, but I don't remember an Aiden at all. Yet his odd behavior and words suggest he knows something. Before I could piece it together, Hazel's call broke in. I chuckled softly before answering. She launched into a tirade right away. What the hell, Layla? Taking advantage, huh? Amir's not yours to take. Those pictures of you, disgusting. You're just a butler's daughter. What makes you think you can compete with me? I laughed, twirling a broken nail. You already slammed Amir into the hospital. Think he'll ever forgive you? Amir told me he had feelings for me at first sight, but you clung to him so hard he couldn't shake you. Now he finally has a reason to let you go. Feelings at first sight, impossible. He said I was the only one he loved. You're full of it, Layla. Who are you trying to fool? Hazel was losing it. I laughed even more. Oh? But Amir said after his release on the 30th, he wants to take me to the ocean. Says he only takes people he truly likes. Bet he never told you that. Oops, almost forgot, you and Amir were just a one-night stand? Maybe he never meant to marry you. That last jab hit Hazel right where it hurt. For someone as proud as her, being Amir's plaything wasn't enough. Damn you, Layla. Just you wait. She hung up. I chuckled knowingly, betting she's frantically dialing Amir now. I checked the script and it went exactly as I thought. After hanging up with me, Hazel called Amir. Her probing put Amir on edge. Hazel promised to take him home to apologize when he's released. But Amir said he's got plans and warned her off, then hung up, leaving Hazel sobbing and alone. All of this, of course, was handed over to Amir. I made sure he wouldn't contact Hazel anymore, which undoubtedly became the last straw for her. Making Hazel go crazy and kill, it just needed the right opportunity. And I provided her the time and place, like offering something borrowed. I'm enjoying grapes as I think about it. Hazel, oh Hazel, let's see if you can wise up this time. She took the bait. As for why, maybe it's because she managed to escape under layers of watchful eyes. I had a feeling something was off. With Hazel's smarts, she shouldn't have gotten away so easily. But now that she's missing, it proves she's planning to make her move. The whole David family is in chaos. My parents, learning from their previous experiences, can sense something is wrong. They've ordered a citywide search, including surrounding cities. I tried to find out Hazel's whereabouts from the script, but it wasn't clear. It just said Hazel escaped from the David family and went missing. I hurriedly called Aiden. Hazel took the bait. Well done, he replied, not sounding very surprised. Do I need to start the action early? I asked. Up to you. I've told you I trust you. I was really annoyed by his calm attitude and hung up on him in frustration. Still trying to figure out how Hazel escaped so easily, my original plan was to lure her when Amir got out of the hospital and her family came to welcome him. With the info I had put out, Hazel must resent us. She's naturally ruthless. At the cliff by the river, she would definitely hesitate. Our goal was to have her push us off, after which Aiden would have someone ready to save us from the water within 5 minutes. There would also be arrangements with the police to catch Hazel immediately after we fell. Aiden has people in the police force. At that point, we only need to spread the rumor of Amir's death. Vermin's frail health won't last till the next day. With the heir in Aiden's hand and the company CEO suddenly gone, Aiden just needs to seize the opportunity to grab what's originally Vermin's, wiping out potential threats to him on the market. The one flaw in our plan was Hazel's disappearance. I just have to wing it now and go with the flow. On the 30th, the day Amir got out of the hospital, I smoothly got him into the car with the story of going to see the sea, making Hazel suspicious. But I didn't tell him the real plan. It was autumn, and this deserted place was perfect for our plan. I parked by the cliff and lifted Amir out in his wheelchair. Suddenly Hazel appeared. You two kept me waiting, she said. I acted surprised and scared. Hazel, what are you doing here? Hazel crossed her arms, stepping closer. Why can't I be here? Then she looked at Amir in the wheelchair. Amir, what spell did she cast on you? What do I lack compared to her? Amir smirked. I was just playing, Hazel. Adult relationships aren't as simple as you think. Besides, do you think you qualify to be my girlfriend? Hazel turned red with anger at his words. Did you hear that, Hazel? Amir's not interested in you. Stop deceiving yourself. You're just a pawn for the Davids. You think you're important in that family? They keep you locked up because you're an embarrassment. I added fuel to the fire. Layla, do you know you're already doomed? Hazel glared. How what? You think you can push me off? I'm not scared of you. You're just a loser. Hazel finally lost all reason. She charged at me, her strength surprising me. I had little chance to fight back. Amir, scared out of his wits, fell from his wheelchair. In a critical moment, Hazel stepped hard on my hand, And just like that, I was pushed off the cliff. When I woke up, I found myself in a car. Aiden was sitting beside me, wearing glasses and reading a newspaper, looking very serious. I couldn't deny his looks were top-notch, but his heart was blacker than coal. Holding my aching head, I got up, not sure how long I'd been out. I only remembered the icy cold water crashing over me, the old pain and suffocation rushing back, and I lost consciousness, letting my body sink. Trying to recall what happened, I asked, "Where's Amir?" "Dead," Aiden replied, his words like a bucket of cold water on me. I stared at his profile. He was serious. I panicked, scrambling off the bed. How could he be dead? Was it a mistake, or did he not survive? Aiden finally put down the newspaper, looking calmly at me. I didn't have him rescued. I collapsed, gripped with pain and anger. Why? It's the first time I shouted at him. Aiden looked down at me like a beggar overestimating themselves. Your plan was perfect, but I couldn't fully trust it. You must know only the dead bring peace in this world. So you killed him? 7, I asked him in a broken voice, tears streaming uncontrollably down my cheeks. Aiden leaned in a little, wiping away my tears gently, and said softly, "Shouldn't you be happy? Amir is dead, Hazel is captured. The whole world is ours now." By world, he meant the setup he wanted, one superpower among many strong powers. "But you're way smarter than I imagined, even better than Hazel," he mused. I looked up, shocked like I got hit by lightning. "What do you mean? You worked with Hazel too?" He gave a gentle smile that sent chills down my spine. Patting my head, he said, "Smart, but that was in a past life." I froze, unable to move, struggling to believe what he was saying. You're saying you're reborn too?" My last words trembled a bit. This shocked me, but at least I kind of expected it. What intrigued me more was, why did he get reborn? I couldn't help but look at him with some resistance and caution. "You said you'd tell me everything once it was all over." He looked at me for a long time, his eyes unfathomable. Just like when we first met. In a past life, to bring down the David family, I made a little deal with Hazel. I know you're curious why I wanted to bring them down. Let me tell you, my goal from the start was the David family. But who knew you'd bring me a delightful surprise? So I thought, why not take care of everything at once to eliminate future troubles? I trembled uncontrollably. This man was scarier and more sinister than I thought. As for the deal, she helped me disrupt the David family's business, and I helped her deal with you. The weight crashed down internally, twisting every inch of my nerves and leaving me drenched in cold sweat. "So, in the past life, you were the one behind my murder?" He nodded, indifferent. "Yeah, but I didn't do it myself. I just gave her some advice. Thought everything would be perfect after you were gone. But who knew Hazel could be so dumb? After killing you, nothing was cleaned up, and she got caught by the cops in no time, dragging me along with the suspicion. Fortunately, things hadn't escalated too much before I got reborn. At first, I couldn't believe it. But then I saw Hazel and Amir making fools of themselves. While you seemed aware of everything, I knew for sure you were reborn too. Plus, you'd never met me before. It's terrifying to realize he approached me with hidden motives. Then it hit me, you might be much smarter than Hazel, and you also had a grudge against the David family. You're perfect to use against them. It's clear I was right. You did it. The David and Vermin families collapsed because of you. Come to me. Together we can grow our empire. Whatever you want, I'll give you money, wealth, you name it. I suddenly looked at him, a forced smile on my face. Sorry you lost. The moment I finished speaking, sirens blared outside, and police cars quickly surrounded the RV. Aiden realized something was seriously wrong, frantically looking out the window. How is this possible? How? Standing barefoot, I looked down at him. Aren't you curious why Hazel could easily lift a 160-pound Amir? Seeing his confused, disbelieving eyes, my smile deepened as I leaned close to his ear. That's because I can change the script. Aiden widened his eyes, staring at me in disbelief. From the moment you blindly trusted me, I lost all trust in you. We barely knew each other. Why would the famous Aiden value an insignificant fake princess? From then on, I was always on guard against you. I never planned to bite back until you reached out to my dad. That I couldn't tolerate. Under your pressure, I couldn't do much, so I pretended to agree with you to destroy the Vermin family. I did help you with that, but you know where you really disappointed me, so you've guessed Hazel left the David family with my help, right? Aiden spoke with a sinister tone. Yes, I know David too well, cautious, arrogant, and treacherous. Escaping his control isn't easy, especially not for someone like Hazel, unless you manipulated things behind the scenes. She could only escape because you helped. As for why Hazel trusted you so much, it must be because you knew each other in a past life, as you should have guessed. Hazel was reborn too. I know you did all this out of fear something might go wrong again, ruining your plans and dreams. But the mistake is Hazel's overtrust in you, which got me suspicious. Aiden chuckled a few times, looking down. Not bad, you're really impressive. I did underestimate you before. But so what if you figured it out and called the cops? Amir is dead, and dead men don't talk. He can't do anything about me. I know that. So I changed the script on the way here. I guessed your personality might lead you to kill, and luckily I was right. Aiden's expression turned sour. His eyes locked fiercely on me. I crouched down and looked him straight in the eye. Aiden, I finally got my revenge, right? Aiden quickly pulled out a gun from his pocket and pointed it at me, threatening. Get all the cops outside to leave. Whether you live or die is up to you now. I kept looking him in the eye, my smile growing wider. I didn't say yes or no. We just stayed there, locked in a standoff. The fear in Aiden's eyes became more obvious. 1 second. 3 seconds. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. Finally, Aiden couldn't take it anymore and shot at my left arm. Bang! A pink candy fell to the ground. He looked at his gun in a panic, confused and lost. Captain Zhang, bring the team in, I said into my earpiece. Footsteps grew closer, and Aiden lost all hope. You won with a cheat, nothing to be proud of. Yeah, maybe there's nothing to be proud of. But if it helps the people by getting rid of evil, I think that's enough. I stood up and pushed the pink candy into his hand, saying one last thing. Happy birthday, Aiden. Sadly, you'll probably be spending the rest of your life in jail. Aiden got arrested. Besides attempted murder, he had other crimes, but the police couldn't figure everything out yet. The investigation was still ongoing. After that, I visited Hazel. She was sentenced to 8 years. How many 8 years do you get in life? I guess my revenge is fulfilled. Hazel said a lot, mostly sarcasm and mockery. I didn't interrupt, just listened quietly. When she finished, I said with no expression, Hazel, the debt from a past life needs to be repaid in this one. Seeing her look of shock and horror, I didn't give her a chance to argue. I'm confident there's enough to keep her anxious and suffering in prison for those 8 years. I also went to see Amir. Vermin still passed away. We were pushed off a cliff by Hazel, and Aiden quickly spread the word. Vermin lived up to expectations and died. But even so, Amir didn't become the president of the Vermin group. The spot he fell from off the cliff was too precarious. Now he's not much different from a eunuch. I guess that's some justice for Hazel too. For someone like him to become a eunuch, that feels about right. Amir was always gloomy and downcast. In the end, he became a monk out of anger. That was a bit unexpected for me. As for my parents, who also got a second chance in life, they were devastated after learning Hazel committed murder. They couldn't understand why, despite being cautious, things ended up like this. I don't really know how things turned out for them. I've cut all ties with the David family, and that won't change. In the cold wind, I thought a lot about the past and the present. But when I got home and saw my dad dozing on the couch, with the chatter of the TV in the background, I noticed a meal he had warmed up for me, covered with a newspaper. This is actually kinda nice. The end.